Alright, so this is a bit funny to me. Trump tweeted recently towards what I guess is now being called the Squad, which is AOC, Ilhan Omar, Ayanna Pressley, and Rashid Tlaib, and in this tweet he basically told them to go back to their country, fix it up, then come back and show us how it's done. Now, it should be noted that 3 of the 4 of the Squad are actually from the US, whereas Ilhan Omar was born in Somalia. Now, what's so rich about this to me? Well, Trump is being accused of racism for this. But it got me thinking, what is the one thing that probably every libertarian or ANCAP has been told at some point in their life, many times by these progressives who accuse anything that moves wrong of racism? Well, we've been told to move to Somalia if we don't like it here, as apparently Somalia is a libertarian paradise. And coincidentally, it's where Ilhan Omar is from. Now, to any black libertarian, if they're told that, do they scream racism? Maybe I missed it, but I don't think so, because I feel like we tend to be a bit more rational. We know that they're telling us to move to Somalia, not out of racism, but out of stupidity, as they are under this illusion that Somalia is a place where the non-aggression principle or natural rights are recognized and upheld. They don't realize it is a place with a long history, and I'm not talking about ancient history, but very recent history, of socialism, military dictatorship, and brutal state-sanctioned genocide. Okay, so those progressives are not racist, they're just ignorant beyond belief. There can be a difference between the two. All racism is ignorant, but not all ignorance is racism. And apparently those progressives are ridiculously hypocritical as well. To call for the exact same thing Trump has called for, and when they call for libertarians to move to Somalia, they think it's just a clever little remark, but when Trump does the exact same thing, it's apparently drenched in racism. I see the game being played here. And by the way, calling Somalia a libertarian paradise because its government has crumbled is like saying Hiroshima and Nagasaki were libertarian paradises the day after the bomb was dropped because no government existed in that particular area for that time. It's just as ridiculous. But the point here is that Trump, whether you like him or not, whether you would have sent out a tweet like this or not, is not being racist. It has nothing to do with race, and this is just another example of progressives desperately trying to pin the racist ribbon on everyone they don't like. So it has nothing to do with racism. It has to do with ideology, and whether that ideology mirrors what other countries have done that ended in turmoil and destitution, which perfectly describes Somalia. As I alluded to, it is a failed socialist state, and the Squad wants to bring that same ideology here. Now, that is not to say, to be sincere, that the Squad is bloodthirsty or as violent as a Somalian dictator. I would never say that. But their ideology has a terrible track record around the world of bringing peace and bringing forth prosperity. I think it's fair to point out that Ilhan Omar comes from a place that had an ideology of socialism that failed its people miserably, and Somalia is not the only place, obviously. So I think it's fair to point out to Ilhan Omar that, hey, you seem to have this ideology of socialism, and it seems to have laid complete waste to entire societies. In fact, you yourself were born in a location that became a victim of your socialist ideology. So prove to us that we are wrong and that the bloody history of socialism is done with. And from here on out, it's only going to bring forth a society of solidarity, peace, and prosperity. I think it's a fair question to ask. And also, notice how none of that has to do with the color of anyone's skin. Notice how I never mentioned race. It should be obvious, but the Squad won't let you get away with a differing opinion from theirs, let alone if you criticize them directly. You won't get away with that without being labeled a racist. I think it's time for people to wake up to the ridiculous and painfully obvious game that they're playing. But that is it for now. Subscribe and share this video and all that good stuff. It is extraordinarily helpful, and please take it easy.